What is going on, my YouTube friends? Man, do I have some big news for you guys today. Let me tell you, it's a Sunday. I don't make a lot of videos on Sundays, but this one is definitely worth it. Yeah, so we got some big news about MSTR stock. Before I get into that big news, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Let me know in the comment section below what your price target is for MSTR, as well as how many MSTR shares you got. And yeah, definitely don't forget to subscribe. We talk about AI, crypto, robotics, and all sorts of different stocks on this channel, so yeah, make sure to subscribe. Okay, so the big news today is that Fidelity, one of the largest institutions or the largest applications that retail investors use to buy assets, whether that then, historically that was stocks, they are now offering crypto, in 401ks, as well as IRAs, as well as Roth IRAs. So you can literally go out and buy in your Fidelity Roth IRA right now, Bitcoin, with your post-tax dollars, and never, ever, 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 ever be taxed ever again on any gains for your crypto ever again. How wild is that? It's like it's actually coming to fruition. As far as I know, Charles Schwab is like on the precipice of basically, starting this, as well as do the SoFis, and the other large, places that take your money for investments. Basically Fidelity, it looks like they're one of the leaders in this movement as far as when it comes to retirement accounts and being able to buy crypto in your retirement account. So that is massive. There's a lot of employers in the United States that they don't at this point use Fidelity for 401ks or basically 401ks, right? Because once you leave that company, then you can then roll over your 401k to an IRA or to a Roth IRA. But generally, while you are still employed at a certain company, they'll give you IRA options that you can have. You can have an IRA, but they'll usually, if you contribute to a 401k, they will match to a certain percentage of your contributions into that 401k. So, for instance, like me, this hits close to home for me because all of the aerospace OEMs, or the vast majority of them, the original equipment manufacturers for, like, let's say Boeing, Cessna and Beechcraft, Bell Textron, so Bell Helicopter, what are some other ones? I think Gulfstream, General Dynamics, a lot of aerospace OEMs, Piper, they use Fidelity, right? Northrop Grumman, I think Lockheed might use Fidelity as well. But anyway, they use Fidelity, and they also use this other app called Fidelity Net Benefits, where Fidelity Net Benefits, that's where you say, hey, I want to contribute 10% of my gross pay, and then your employer matches a certain percentage or whatever. But it's like a lot of major companies, and it's not just the aerospace OEMs. That's just what I know of from my personal experience working in the aerospace industry. Is it's like that's what they use, right? Fidelity is definitely a leader as when it comes to large employers and 401ks, because they have such a big B2B business that these bigger companies like using them because it's easier for them, right? Because Fidelity's got everything set up. You just tell them, hey, we're Boeing, we want to use Fidelity for this, blah 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 blah, and there's just a defined step forward. So yeah, it's a big deal. It's like a gigantic deal for Bitcoin. Maybe not necessarily a huge deal for MSTR specifically. Like, this isn't necessarily specifically MSTR news, but it's one of those things that greatly impacts MSTR. It's so crazy because MSTR, MicroStrategy's stock, it kind of combines the best of both worlds, where it's like you've got the people that like stocks and you've got the people that like crypto, right? And so you've got, and this kind of mix and matches both of those, right? And it's like, so like a lot of people that like stocks like MSTR, and a lot of people that like crypto also like MSTR because they see the value in, the Bitcoin treasury companies and how they're actually leveraged Bitcoin, right? Using other people's money to buy the Bitcoin. So it's like the more bullish news we get about Bitcoin, for sure, the more bullish MSTR is going to be, because MSTR is one of my favorite things about MSTR, actually. It's like, it's a good point that I don't know if I brought up on this channel before, where it's like MSTR, you almost know exactly what they're doing with the company almost on a daily basis. It's not like your Teslas, your Nvidias, your Metas, right? Where it's like, oh, you got that quarterly earnings, you don't know exactly what's happened over the quarter. and you hope they increase top line, you hope they increase bottom line, you hope they give good forward guidance, all this stuff, where it's like MSTR, you don't really have to, there's very little speculation involved. The only speculation involved is, what is the price of Bitcoin going to be? And is MSTR going to come out with any more like perpetual preferred shares, or like do they have another phase of their business that they're going to come out with, where there's just more like, there's less questions. It's so funny that you like the company is completely crypto related, right? But there's less uncertainty, in my opinion, about MSTR than there is about Tesla, or like, let's say in Meta. You know, Meta just reported earnings. They're like they dropped like a rock because they said they're going to spend all this money on AI infrastructure, right? And who knows how investor sentiment's going to feel about that. And with Meta, they didn't like it, right? They don't like it when Meta spends so much money. They generally, investors in Meta really like it when Meta is like just making a bunch of money and not spending very much. They want it profitable. They don't want like investing in the future at such large amounts in GPUs, you know, as opposed to MSTR. Like I've said, it's all dependent upon Bitcoin price. That's all it is, because they come out and they tell you like almost every single Monday, hey, we bought this many Bitcoin. Hey, we bought this many Bitcoin. Hey, we bought this many Bitcoin. Okay, cool. So we know how many Bitcoin MSTR have, right? MSTR has. And we know what the price of Bitcoin is. And they've outlined, Michael Saylor and the team have outlined exactly their path forward for how they plan to accumulate more Bitcoin. And maybe there's some like, some nuances to that, or like some changes down the road to make the company even more lucrative. And I'm sure there will be, right? We don't know the entire plan of MSTR, but on a quarterly basis, at least in 2025, probably next year, like everything's fairly predictable about the price and earnings. Like MSTR came out with earnings specifically like just a few days ago, and they came out with almost $3 billion in net income, right? Because they're reporting their net income based upon their Bitcoin gains. But we all kind of already knew that. We know what their base price is, what their cost basis is on their Bitcoin, and it's around 70,000 a coin, right? And we know that Bitcoin's 110K per coin right now, right? So we know everything. We just don't know how much they're going to buy on a weekly basis. You can basically put it in a range. They're going to buy a certain amount, probably less than 1,000 every Monday, unless they get some sort of large amount of money, then they'll buy more than that. But it's just, it's so crazy, man. It's like, there's actually less uncertainty in MSTR than there is in the Mag 7, You're not hinging upon an earnings date. You're just hinging on the price of Bitcoin. And when you have the entire world's eyes on Bitcoin, and everyone in the world saying now that like the 4-year, Bitcoin cycle as it pertains to the drawdown in Bitcoin price being over, and like a lot of people way smarter than me, let's say like Andre Geek, right? YouTuber, he's been on YouTube for like 10 years now, it feels like. This is his words, not even mine. This is him saying he thinks that the massive volatility, the 80% declines in Bitcoin price is over with. He thinks there's so many eyes, so many long-term holders in Bitcoin, so many long-term hodlers, that it's like that severe amount of volatility is gone. And sure, there will be some drawdowns and some like huge spikes up, but like the people that are way smarter than me, like I said, like the Andre Geeks, the Michael Saylors of the world, they think it's just kind of going to be like a steady climb, like year over year over year, with just like some macroeconomic factors that could cause like heavier spikes up or down, if that makes sense. And I'm actually on board with this thinking, right? That's actually how I see Bitcoin price playing out over the next 5-10 years, and probably even longer. I think that the longer Bitcoin exists, the less volatile it's going to be, and the more solid the price is going to be, and the steadier rate of increase is going to be, right? I could be wrong about this, 100%. I could be 100% wrong. We could see a Bitcoin price, of 25K tomorrow, if something happens. But I just don't think that's going to happen, right? So I'm not one to put my entire portfolio into MSTR stock. There's plenty of people I know that are irresponsibly long MSTR, right? So I'm not advocating for that. And actually, I'm not advocating for you guys to do anything at all, because I'm not a financial advisor. You like that? So don't sue me, bro. But this is just my advice from a humble guy on YouTube. I think that Bitcoin is going to the freaking moon. I think that the amount of things in favor of Bitcoin, whether it be legislation, companies buying Bitcoin, high net worth individuals buying Bitcoin, governments buying Bitcoin, they're now allowing, like I said, Roth IRAs, and 401ks you can buy Bitcoin in. So it's like, on what planet does the investor that knows quite a bit about like investing in the world and macroeconomics and these types of things, on what planet do you not put 1% of your 401k into Bitcoin? I mean, how does that not happen, right? And if it's me, I'm putting a lot more than 1% into Bitcoin or MSTR, right? Like, and the thing is, with an MNAV of 1.3 like MSTR has, that means that every dollar that goes into Bitcoin, MSTR gets $1.3. Make it make sense, bro. Make it make sense. The math is mathing for MSTR. Let's put it that way. The math is definitely mathing for a long-term investment to do well for MSTR. So that's my whole point. It's like you got all these things, and MSTR, like I've said in previous videos, you got Stretch, and I think Stretch is just going to be one massive catalyst for MSTR stock, where MSTR is just going to be able to accumulate so much Bitcoin. It's just a wild world we live in. We're in the wild west of crypto right now, and it really looks like Michael Saylor is just like buying up a lot of land, you know, or like you could say he owns like an entire gold mine, and he's just like buying more and more gold mines, you know. It's like, so I want to be part of that, and I will be a part of it. So that's why I have an investment in MSTR. That's why I have an investment in Metaplanet. And I just think that more and more stuff like this is going to come out. We don't know about the capital gains tax on crypto and Bitcoin. Well, and Bitcoin and United States related crypto projects, right? We don't know. That's still up in the air of what Trump's going to do. But we know that Trump himself has a lot of influence over the United States legislation, as well as he is heavily invested with almost, I want to say like $2 billion worth of Bitcoin or Bitcoin related assets. So it's like, you know, I'm not saying we should just go exactly and do what the president says, but what I'm saying is like, if the writing's on the wall, guys, it's like Fidelity. The Fidelity is worth hundreds of billions of dollars, and they're now offering, like I said, IRAs, Roth IRAs, and 401ks. And it's like, could you imagine if you, I believe the maximum you can put into a Roth IRA is $6,500 per year as an individual right now. If you put $6,500 into Bitcoin this year in 2025, right? And it's $110,000 per coin right now. So you're going to get like 0.05-ish coins, right? Imagine if Bitcoin goes to 10 million in 10 years. Imagine if Bitcoin 100x's. You now have, I mean, what do you have? You go from 6,500 to 65,000 to $650,000 in a Roth IRA that you're never going to be taxed one penny on. You're talking 6,500 to 650 grand, and you're not going to pay a dime, not a penny in tax, Uncle Sam. How wild, dude. How wild is, like, you know, they've been talking about these, you know, Bitcoin being allowed in retirement accounts for a while now, and I know that was a Trump push, but I wasn't sure. You know, like, presidents oftentimes, they push things, they say things are going to happen, politicians in general, and they don't happen. But like, when it comes to crypto, like, they have a vested interest. The Republican side has a vested interest, Trump has a vested interest, and it really feels like now is the time for mooning, you know, like, for crypto, and then the crypto related mining, or yeah, probably mining stocks as well, but definitely the holding companies, the treasury companies, they are just going to freaking explode, man. And I'm excited. Like I said, I'm not a financial advisor. Bitcoin could be $0 tomorrow. I give that like a 0.00001% chance, but like, it's always a chance. So don't sue me, bro. You know your own risk, know your own tolerances for risk, and know, you know, that it's going to be somewhat volatile still, right? So you have to be able to stomach the volatility. So make sure your asset allocation with respect to the rest of your portfolio is such that you do not sell when Bitcoin goes down a lot. Make it such that if Bitcoin goes down a lot, you're able to buy more, you're able to dollar cost average lower, and hold on and not freak out. So that's basically what I'm saying is, for most retail investors, you don't want to put 100% of your money into Bitcoin or MSTR right this very second. I'm not a financial advisor. You can do whatever you want, but that's just, I don't do that, and I wouldn't ever tell one of my friends to do that. So yeah, guys, it's just big news for Bitcoin and MSTR. So I wanted to come and tell you guys that. So once again, guys, if you made it this far, we're almost 15 minutes into this video. What are you doing? If you're not a subscriber, you got to subscribe to the channel. We talk about, you know, crypto, legislation that affects crypto, stocks, asymmetric bets, specifically AI and robotics stocks, things that I see as undervalued or that are like super high growth that you can take a small bet, you know, put 1, 2, 3% in, or maybe more, up to your risk tolerance, and make some money in the long term, right? But have like a fairly diversified portfolio of like 10 baggers, 100 baggers. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I know like most retail investors are looking for. We're not looking to work our whole life away, you know? So it's like, we got to find these 10 baggers, 100 baggers, take, you know, calculated bets, and see what we can do with our money, and hopefully we can make some money together. Definitely let me know how many MSTR shares you got down below, and what you guys think about this Fidelity news, you know, where they're allowing crypto to be bought in retirement accounts. So yeah, with that, guys, have yourself a great Sunday.